Hi, I'm back. I don't know if you missed me or not, but it's all good. Um, I deleted my last video, and the video before that I made, I decided not to air. And then now it's been almost 2 weeks. Then once I cut that last video out, so it's been 2 weeks since there's been a proper video that's still up. It's the Crying Game review. Please check it out. If you're a Crying Game fan, uh, you'll love it. If you're not a Crying Game fan, you'll become one. No, it's not no propaganda for Crying Game. That just happens to be the last blue review I did. But anyway, I'm back. All natural light. Everything's kind of washed out purple. Totally unprofessional looking, but it's okay. I just wanted to seize this moment and talk for a bit about what's going on. The channel is kind of in stasis, I guess, because yeah, I think tomorrow will be 2 weeks since I released the Crying Game video. Now it's doing pretty good. It's got about 615 likes. I mean views. I don't know how many likes at this point. I'm not sure. Uh, Thank you for everyone who watched it. Thank you for everyone who put a like. Anyone who put a dislike, who needs you? It's okay. I'm going to keep moving. The last video I did, which I think I called "Where I Am Now," it had a cool subtitle too, but I don't remember it. But it's basically about a day I had. It was Saturday a week ago, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before that. I think it was the 20th, possibly, of August. I had an event, a couple of major events happen, and I was not happy with the outcome of them. The first event I talked about, I'm still not happy with the outcome, but I'm resigned. I've come up with a tactic to deal with it. The second, I wasn't expecting, it went sour, so that's one reason I took the video down. Two reasons I took the video down, because the first event involved people who were newly subscribed to me. They weren't talked about in the video, but they were the audience for what transpired in the video that I was complaining about happening on Saturday the 20th. And I think a couple of those people, I know several of them subscribed because I mentioned it on the event we were all part of, a virtual convention. But I think a couple unsubscribed. I could be wrong, but my subscriber list, which had been rising swiftly, began to drop after that video had been out a few days. So it could be a coincidence. I could be paranoid. But also the good things I was talking about in that last video have kind of come and gone. They've passed away into the ether. And really, between work and the incessant heat here, which I did go into detail in that video I deleted, alas, there's a lot of important things in that video that were important, when I put it up, that I was going through as far as struggles and problems, which many of y'all, if not almost all, don't know about. Some things that only my very closest friends they know about, but sometimes they don't even know the extent of how bad it can get. So, and I don't know, I don't want to kind of crutch on them as I have friends in the past. I mean, I used to be a kid with all these problems. Everything was always going wrong. I was always late everywhere I went. I was always losing stuff. I was always forgetting things. I was a space cadet, as they said in the late and occasionally lamented 1980s. And, I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. It took a lot to shake me out of it. So I have reverted to some laziness and procrastination about some major problems that have been going on. Some about my health, but I've gotten those mostly sorted now. So I've become a little more proactive. And then about money, it's not sorted, but I'm on the path. I've got a meeting with my bosses on tomorrow. They insist it's going to be a really positive meeting, a kind of step forward, I guess. But the look on the face of one of my direct supervisors made me think, because I said I'm in trouble, right? She was kind of like, in other words, well, there's much to talk about. And then the other one of my supervisors was like, yeah, we're just getting your schedule aligned and we're getting your hours beefed up and we're doing this, and we want to train you in some other departments. all of which is fine with me. But I'd already, with the woman who makes my schedule, I'd requested to kick back to 4 days a week because if they started scheduling me 5 days a week, I have not worked 5 days a week at a day job since I don't know, since before Corona, maybe around the beginning of the Corona strike, early 1991. Uh, the hours dried up at my last job, which it was in the same building that I'm at now, but a different company. And then my health, I went into a crash. I went into a long delayed crash over my ex fiance leaving me, and then being abandoned by my roommate, and having to kind of, okay, I'm going to sell everything to survive, which worked pretty well for about a year. My eBay store still up. Please check it out. Henry Covert, simple Henry Covert 67, easy to remember. It's about dead now. I'm about to land a few sales, it looks like, that are promising, but we'll see. I did have one good sale last month. Very good sale, but just one. But that's cool. My point is, if I can ever get to it, is that everything that happened in 2019 that I could have crashed about, I didn't. I kept going. I kept working. I kept hustling. I kept, it was with me all the time, but I wasn't really facing it head on. I needed to survive. And then when my roommate left at the very end of that year, I really needed to. So the eBay thing helped me a lot. And it helped me so much, I think I became a little too dependent on it, so that when my mental and physical health, first my mental health, then my physical health with my carpal tunnel, nerve pain problems in my limbs, and occasionally my back, when all that started happening in 2021, I was really, I had a flexible work schedule anyway, so, I didn't need to work, I didn't need the money, but I didn't need to work, as in they could do without me. And I could tend to other things more than 3 or 4 days a week. And then that gradually, toward the end of the year, became 2 or 3 days a week. Until finally the restructuring of the company early this year, which I knew was coming, but it came a little later. It came in March. And it was like, okay, you're going to work 1 day a week, 5 hours. So I had to scramble. This whole time I'd been job searching. A couple of jobs I actually was hired, but the net pay was only going to be maybe 50 cents more than what I ended up making at the $8.50 an hour plus commission job. Yeah, it was that low. This company should be ashamed of itself. The direct sales age needs to end. We need a guaranteed job act. We need a living wage. So anyway, luckily now I'm working for a different company in the same building that of its type is the most progressive in America. I just want to put that in perspective. I mean, it's still a big corporation, et cetera. You're still a wage slave, but they're working at the level that some states are, with 15 at the minimum wage and on up. So for the first time in my life, I'm actually making more money in a given day working a day job than I ever have. I'm not counting eBay, because at its peak I can make more in a day than a week or two at that job. I'm hoping eBay will go on an incline. I'm asking you all humbly to check it out, and if you can afford it, buy something. I have 300 some items up. Check this one out. I didn't mean to do this, but it's here. This is the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch soundtrack from Death Waltz, vinyl, double disc. I'm asking $70 for this. And check out this gem here I've advertised before. A Princess of Mars, and not a first edition, early edition. I believe around 1930, late 1930s, 1940. I'm going to double check because I want to give you the real facts and not be another purveyor of disinformation. I guess the 1939 edition, I'm asking you 100 for it, which is a pretty big step down from the fair market value. But I know people are getting to where they can't afford fair market value, which means maybe the fair market value needs to start dropping, which sucks for dealers, but I guess good for collectors and fucking resellers. I'm not a reseller, by the way. I'm a collector. I'm a dealer. I don't buy things, solely to resell, to inflate to insane prices. But a good deal of my customers are resellers, and you know, some of them come to their senses and offer me something tangible that I can go with. But a lot of them I just have to write off because, you know, when your first offer for an item is like 45% of what I'm asking, yeah, this is not going to happen. You know, it's an insult. It's a joke. And I know those people want to buy it for that and resell it for probably 200% of what I was asking. So anyway, I've gone all over the map. What I'm doing is basically reiterating some of the information that was probably a lot more concise in my last video that I took down where I am now. Just about my health, my finances, job, et cetera, my eBay. So let's get into now and why I want to make this video. Just basically to check in and to tell you, like I said earlier, the channel is kind of in stasis. I have a long list of blue review topics sketched out. Some I've even done takes on and weren't happy with how they turned out or finished them. But I've just about consumed all the material I need to the level of like knowing it and being able to speak somewhat fluently about it for about a dozen episodes. So I'm happy with that. I'm hurtling toward the 150th episode, and I hope I'll have something special for that. But again, I'm striving not to go over an hour. I think one of my recent videos hit right about an hour. Maybe it was the crying game. I'm not sure. It was one of my last few. It might have been the last one that I deleted. In that case, cool. But yeah, I think it has to be under an hour. I like watching long videos if they're engaging, but I don't really any visual aids, and you know, my energy is kind of here and there and everywhere, you know, depending on what's going on up here in the skull, and so I can't guarantee, you know, that I'm going to be a compelling view for a whole hour of your life. So, but 30 minutes is good. If I really know the subject, I can talk about it in 30 minutes and get to the point. If I don't know the subject, I'm not as confident. I do tend to go off topic more, and it takes me a while to sort in my brain, say all the events that had transpired in a film. Sometimes they'll go out of order, and then I'll stop and go, fuck, I forgot this. Sometimes, usually now when I do that, I redo the video, but I used to always just kind of wing it and start back over. And I didn't have to do that for a while, but I know recently I did, and I can't remember which video it was, and I was kind of embarrassed, but I kept going. You know, I filled in the gap and then just said, fuck it, I'm gonna finish it. So this is a big fan here. This was about $80. This thing, it's kind of overrated, but you know, to rich people, $80 is nothing. So to me, it's like, oh my god, it's gonna kill me. At least right this minute, and it's like that. But I bought it about 3 weeks ago, and it has helped a lot. I don't have cold central air circulating any longer in my home that I own. That's what I broke in the last video. So that's the big news, which is it really deeply affects my mood, my health, my energy level. So making these videos in a part of the house that's decently lit and that's somewhat comfortable, that I can sit down for a certain period of time with my back. My back has gone out twice since I've gotten this new job, but it's okay. I mean, you know, it almost did the other day. But I kind of bounced back. So this job is going to help me get into shape. I've lost a few pounds, and I'm going to keep on that track. So sometimes the pain, I just go, well, yeah, I was in really bad pain for a day or two, but I lost a couple of pounds. No pain, no gain, right? Or no pain, no loss in this case. So, hold on. I've had some great developments, and I've had some discouraging developments in my life during that time frame, August 20th. I think I got the date straight. It was a Saturday. So some of them weren't big, like most people would consider big events. For instance, me changing jobs that I've talked about. That's a big event. My back going out. That's a big event, you know. No cold air. That's a big event, especially when you live in the fucking Bible Belt. So, well, these are kind of more big events on a psychological and emotional level. And it came in threes. And one of them had transpired when I made that last video, and then one was kind of starting, but it was starting positively. So what happened? I'm probably gonna make a whole another video about all of this, but to kind of head towards a basic wrap up, just to say hi, I'm still alive. If you care, I don't know. Help me out if you can. If you can't, it's good. Basically, I had 3 events happen with 3 different people that were unexpectedly demoralizing. None of these people I expected to even enter into my current scene, you know, and they were all people that I knew a little bit previously, one more than the other 2. And their sudden jarring turning on me and interrogating me about a lot of uncomfortable things in my past, I just don't care about. It's not that they hurt me anymore, but that they did hurt me, and so I just don't think about them. Some people dwell in this shit, you know, and each of these 3 people are rife with horrid insecurities. The third one, who did kind of the most damage in the short term up here, I knew the least, and someone I had not seen in, I would say, 35 years at least. And he's like dredging up shit from my early childhood, you know, up through high school. And, you know, I didn't really know this guy then. He knew of me. He claimed a knowledge of me. He threw names at me in a barrage that assumed he knew me. And I don't like that shit. That's one problem about living in the same place most of your life, is this small town mentality, regardless of how many skyscrapers and sports teams you toss into this place, and how many, you know, people come into these new condominiums every month. Who, you know, still there's a small town mentality in Charlotte. So when you run into people who knew you back in the day, it can be an okay experience. But for me, it generally hasn't. Back in the day wasn't a happy time for me. It was extremely traumatic, very fucked up time. And when I say back in the day, I mean from childhood. You know, we're talking in single digits all the way up to college. We're talking about into my 20s. There's a lot of fucked up years. I did not start getting regularly. I tried to get professional help. I was pushed by other people. Once when I was 16, once when I was 20, and I thinked out of both of them. And you know, the deal is, I didn't attempt that again until in my early 30s, and I've been on that path ever since. And then I had a severe breakdown, a total breakdown, in January 2016. So after that span was over, I've been in what I call recovery ever since. I'm not an alcoholic or a substance abuser, but recovery from all this trauma, accrued trauma that transpired while I was trying to deal with the other trauma. Because, you know, I was in therapy and on medication the whole time I was married, and a few years before I was married, but still crisis after crisis visited me. And most of them I dealt with pretty, I think, okay, and didn't leave too many deep, lasting scars. I've been able to cope. A lot of deaths. You know, I don't have any living family, blood family that I ever speak to, except my 4th cousin, who occasionally will pipe up on Facebook with me. He did live here when I had my breakdown, and I had actually worked with him a few years before. But before we knew we were cousins, I went to elementary school with his younger brother. We hung out. Him and my best friend Thomas and this kid hung out. I didn't even know he's my 4th cousin. So his older brother, the kid, I friended on Facebook, but we had no interaction. So that part of the family, you know, it might as well not exist. I mean, it's fine, but we're not cuddly or anything. I mean, we're more like acquaintances, occasional friends. We have a few things in common. They have nothing to do with being blood related. But those people aren't in Charlotte anymore anyway. So in this area, you know, I have no one. I have a few living cousins and cousins once removed in Greensboro, North Carolina, and other places that I don't want to have anything to do with, that you know, I have no connection with. Some of them are criminals. I mean, and in the worst, very worst sense of the word. I'm not talking about people who are arrested for being criminals, because people get arrested for having weed. You know, people get arrested for victimless crime all the time. These are people who perpetrated victim-laden, victim-heavy crime. Only one or two that are that extreme. But, the oldest one is now himself in an assisted living unit, last I heard. And, being utterly dependent on other people, it's a fitting end for a scumbag like this guy. He's my first cousin, but he's significantly older than me. So that's one branch of the family. Then my mom's family, I have an aunt and her daughters that I spoke with very briefly when my father passed away on the phone. They didn't come to the funeral. And they came to my mom's funeral a few years earlier. And that's the last time I've seen them. And that's really the last time I'll ever see them, I'm sure. I have no animus against those people. I did spend a lot of time with them as a kid, but I was never a family person. I was an only child. I was very solitary. I was extremely shy and withdrawn. My friends who are on the spectrum, I have a really hard time expressing to them. And if you're watching, please try to muster some empathy if you can, possibly, because I did have it as rough as you guys, all growing up. I was forced to break out of this bubble, this cell, that seemed to be this, but it was really in here. And I could get all philosophical with this all day, but the bottom line is this guy confronted me at my workplace and really kind of humiliated me, not to the point where anyone else noticed, but he could tell. And rather than back off when I all but said the words back off while I'm, bagging some stupid shit he's buying, and it was stupid shit because he's a moron, rather than back off, he doubled down and he tripled down. And that was a scary moment. It wasn't even a moment. It was a few seconds. And I thought, am I going to physically assault this guy, this customer? Because he was almost literally in my face by this time. And, we have these plastic plexis in front of our registers because of COVID. Where the plexi end, I'm coming over to give him his stuff, and he's taking advantage of the newly open space. And he's in my personal space. He's invading it. He's violating it. And he won't shut up. He won't stop spewing names in my face of people who either A, I have no use for, B, I don't care about, C, I remember their name in little else, or D, who hurt me really deeply and I got over it. And there's no need to acknowledge that they still walk the earth. In my mind, they don't walk the earth. And I don't care if they live in this city. I'm getting out of control, but I do feel passionately about this. I wonder if you guys have ever been through something like this. If you've grown up in a, under these kind of circumstances, like I'm talking about, and then you finally make some friends, and then they leave you, they ditch you. See, I didn't have class consciousness as a child. I have maybe all too much now. And these people, because of the part of town we lived in, the school we went to, I was always the poorest kid. I was always the only child. I was always the one with the mean, grumpy old dad and the weird, bookworm mom, and who never had any friends, not either of them. And eventually those people shunned me, and I got very close to one or two of them. One in particular was my best friend for a while. I considered him a best friend. I don't think he ever did consider me a best friend. I think he humored me. And he was 2 years younger than me. And, it's sad because I've alluded to him in other videos under his name, an abbreviation of his name, JJ. And, JJ betrayed me. The good thing about him betraying me and turning his back on me because of class issues, which neither of us could articulate that at the time as the core issue, but it was. And there may have been other core issues that I don't even know about, but that's on him. Basically, it freed me up because up to that time I had been creating and writing and doing my own comics and stories and art and characters, but I always felt like I needed a kibitzer, an editor, a sounding board. I really felt I always would. I wouldn't mind having one. I mean, I have a couple of people in my life now who come, very close to that kind of function as far as when we talk about my creative stuff. I hope one day to you know, if I settle down with another woman, and there is now a woman in this scene in the picture, and she's really great. But anyway, if I do that, I'm not against doing that. I'm saying if it happens, uh, you know, I probably count her in, you know, as one of those kind of people. But when this guy ditched me, I realized I didn't need anyone. For a couple of years, I continued to build Flickr Street. Even it still wasn't called Flickr Street, but it was becoming codified. And for a couple of years, I still talked to a couple of friends who we had talked about this shit in high school, and made up some characters, and tried to draw some comics, and they were really bad. I mean, all of them were badly drawn. Mine were probably the best drawn, but also the most cliched layouts. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. Best rendered, but the most. Anyway, we tried, you know. But anyway, so a couple of those guys lingered in my life during my college years, and you know, I would occasionally, because they had some familiarity. And I finally had a massive falling out with one of them. I abandoned him, and he was the very first friend that I had that I'd been close to, that I broke ties with, that I didn't come back around and try to make up with. I'd even broken ties with this very person a few times, and I always came back around. Occasionally, the other person would come back around, but this was the first person I just said no. You know, I basically treated him like the girl I'd been dating during that period treated me. It's like, no, now it's over. Goodbye. That's it. Non-negotiable. And that's basically what I said to this guy. And that was a very liberating feeling. Since then, I've done it to countless people. And I'm all for the block button on Facebook and most social media. I mean, I hate it has to be that way, but it really does. It has to be that way. But back then, we blocked in person. We didn't have the computer. And when you're in like an overgrown small town, it's hard to block physically. You become a hermit. You become even more of a hermit than you already are. And now that I have the internet, and I own my own home, and I have no distractions whatsoever except my lovely cat, you know, I'm a total hermit. But I'm gradually reaching out. My job is helping me be out in society, interacting with humans. And I have met someone, and I do think there's an enormous amount of promise. The thing is, I had briefly met someone, and I talked about her on my other video that I deleted, and that was the other reason I deleted my other video, because she's one of the three that had troubled me, because I thought there might be a promise there, and I think I overstated it in that video. I'm a little embarrassed. I didn't really want her to see it. I didn't name her name or go into detail or be like, oh, she's the one, because I didn't really believe that. But I was open. I was trying to be kind to somebody who was very troubled, more troubled than me, and I'm kind of troubled sometimes. But she did the same thing. Boom, you're gone. So she didn't do, she didn't go. She ghosted me, but she didn't block me. She just stopped replying, stopped existing, stopped checking messages. And that's okay, because as soon as that happened, I'm rolling off these other incidences, and I'm like, fine. And literally the next day after that, I met someone else online. I've been talking to her ever since, and we have a connection. And I'm very happy being involved with her. And I'm eager to see how it goes, how it plays out, because there's enormous potential there. And I do feel kindness toward her, and I don't feel embarrassed saying this. And even if she ditches me tomorrow, I don't think that will happen. But if it does, c'est la vie, whatever. Que sera, sera. There's probably 100 French cliches I could throw out. I think even the word cliche is French. But so I'm kind of tracking backwards. So the first incident that set all this off was this guy at this virtual convention, and he attacked me verbally and temperamentally over. Are you guys prepared to laugh? If you're still with me, he attacked me because I didn't like Ms. Marvel, the show on Disney Plus. And basically, I watched a guy older than me who really has an extremely cocky attitude and always has. But I thought he was a strong person. But I don't see him that way now. He tried to play the card that I was the mean cynic, and he was the open-minded, fan. The same guy has been knocking fan bros for years, just as I do sometimes on my videos, or a lot of my videos. But he revealed himself to be a fan bro. It's like you went there. You dared to question the pristine brilliance of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wow. I mean, that's taking some shallow shit and trying to make it deep, and using it as and weaponizing it against someone else. Someone who's had this guy said he was cooperating in a podcast. I was very supportive. I was very, I never liked the guy, but I didn't hate him. I was willing to give him yet another chance to be kind. He was kind to me once in all these years I've known him, maybe twice, and only once in person. Unkind quite a few times in person. And I just was like, yeah, cool. And somehow it drifted over to this channel. And that's when I noticed some of those people subscribing, and that was awesome. In real time, they were doing that. And then I mentioned, like, one of my last videos and how I tried to have a philosophy of generally seeking out things I'm pretty sure I'll like, things that truly interest me, or talking about things that I already know I like, I'm already interested in, I want to share it. Occasionally, I'll report on something I saw in streaming or that was presented to me, and I didn't like it, but I do want to review it because it's part of my experience of my channel, my show, Blue Review, and that's when I'll give negative reviews. And sometimes I'm unsparing. And Ms. Marvel, I was fairly unsparing, but I was being honest. I wasn't being hateful with this person. I was like, yeah, I hated it. That's it. No malice. I hated it. Okay, let's move on. There was no moving on. There were attacks, and so I had to counterattack. And unfortunately, I was put on the spot, very shocked, off guard. So some of my counterattacks were like talking points of people who predictably would not like that material. And I didn't mean them to be. I coincidentally align with some of them, but I'm not some right-winger who thinks, oh, Ms. Marvel had some girl, some Pakistani, some Muslim, some woke shit. I don't think that way fucking at all. And to be honest, as left-wing as this guy used to portray himself as, which was like about as left-wing as me by a few degrees one way or another, he reeled it in. He came at me with the neoliberal, politically correct preacher mode, and said some bizarre and baffling things that I'll never forget because they were just silly. They were so silly. I mean, they're hilarious. If you know this material, if you're into it or you care about it, and to be honest, I know this material, I'm into it, but I don't really care about it. Not Ms. Marvel. I don't give a fuck about Ms. Marvel. And, I'm willing to give something by Marvel. I'm not talking about the comics. I don't read their comics. I boycott their comics. But anything live action, occasionally something animated, not so much. I will give it a shot, but that shot doesn't always pay off. And I don't see any reason why I need to be tribalist than partisan with Marvel or the Marvel Studios. And this guy said, he said to me, first thing he started to say in defense of Ms. Marvel when it came up, he's like, man, the MCU, they haven't let me down yet. And I'm like, oh my God, is this cat on their fucking payroll or what? I mean, it's like, I have friends who are completists. I used to be a completist. This is the thing. People who attack me over this kind of shit or misunderstand me, they never stop to ask, have I walked this road? They like to use my age against me when it's convenient, but they never seem to be able to use that as a positive, that I might have a certain amount of experience just walking on this fucking planet. So I was very demoralized after all these incidences. But anyway, I met this wonderful woman, and she is a woman, and I want to distinguish that from a girl or a chick. Not that I have anything against girls or chicks or dating girls or chicks, and the ones that are of legal age. I don't, but that's not, this person's a woman who's really lived and has a lot in common with me and a lot of similar ways of processing trauma and attempting to go forward at this, you know, in our middle age years, which I hate even admitting I'm middle age, but I guess I am. I can't avoid it anymore. This is always going to tell everyone, right? I should die at black. So I'm not going to talk about her any further in this video. I'm not going to talk any further about these incidences in this video. I will address the Ms. Marvel controversy at length at some point on video. So if you are someone who happened to subscribe and you attended the event where this transpired and say you don't agree with my take on it or the way I interpret it, you don't like that. It doesn't, you dislike the way I characterize this person that many of you idolize. I'm sorry. If you feel like you should unsubscribe, then okay, I can't stop you. I wasn't trying to tar this entire scene with a brush, but see, this is why it's hard making a video of interest about this subject. And this is not an insult to any of this, because I've walked through that path. I had passion for it. I still have love for it. I still have friends involved deeply in it. But the scene I'm talking about, this convention revolved around, is still so niche and so tiny that to talk about it in a video with 300 subscribers and possibly 1,000 views, it's not going to register. And the only people that are going to watch it for that reason are the people who were at that convention or wanted to go. And like I said, if you're one of them and you formed an opinion, that's fine. If your opinion and your verdict is that I was full of shit and either that guy's great and I suck, or, he's right and I don't like your attitude, or Ms. Marvel is the greatest show that's ever been made by Marvel, or maybe by human hands, because this was described to me as a groundbreaking show online. And then this guy, his talking points were like, this is what's funny. I said I reflexively argued talking points against him, and I don't like the fact I did that, but that's all he threw at me. He threw at me the pro talking points. Everything he said almost, I had read online day after day while I was following the show and getting ready to do the video I did on it. I reviewed it in 2 videos. The Boys versus Ms. Marvel. I really want you guys to watch that video if you have any interest in comic book or superhero television adaptations. I think it's called The Boys versus Ms. Marvel, Antitheses. And my conclusion at the end of my tirade on that, which was really mild for me, I thought, was that The Boys is a tonic to Ms. Marvel. And I mean that in general. I don't mean specifically that show is better than this show because that show is adult and this show is like all Disney-fied. I mean, those play into it, but and those are my personal tastes. I prefer the adult to the Disney-fied. I live in terror and dread of the Daredevil Disney Plus series. It may destroy one of my favorite shows, but I still have the show. Like people point out all the time, oh, they didn't ruin the book. The book's still on my shelf. Right. I agree with that viewpoint, but I also agree with the viewpoint that something that you love dearly can be sullied in the public consciousness. And, it becomes embarrassing and sad because, then you're associated with something that is not representative of what the art really is. And I'm saying a lot of this as a creator. If my stuff becomes more widely distributed than it is, which wouldn't be hard to do, it's hardly distributed at all. But it is showing in venues where potentially millions of people could see it. But I'm lucky if a dozen in a week do, and that's fine for now. But if I do break with this Flickr Street thing, ever, I rue the day. I mean, not rue the day. That's not the right phrase. I like that phrase, but I dread the day that fans will come at me and try to tell me what I intended with my work, or try to tell me what's incorrect about my work, or try to tell me how my work needs to be banned because it touches this button and then this button. You guys know how I feel about this after my discussions of a Serbian film and several other very taboo films that I've reviewed. Fuck that. These are works of fiction. Get a life, do some reading, do some living, go out there and understand that there is a difference. And, you know, when I say get a life and somebody goes, well, you sound like William Shatner on Saturday Night Live. First of all, no one's going to remember that. No one would remember that except people around my age, and not for the internet and rabid Star Trek fandom. But I mean, and the combination, very combustible. And so, yeah, they know that. That's our type. Well, I saw it live when it first aired, man. And yeah, it was hilarious. And it did take some people back. It didn't hurt me, but I didn't feel it really did hurt their feelings. And it did make them mad at Shatner because he really called out some of the fans. Like I said, this is 20 some, 30 years ago. I have to look it up. It wasn't any later than 1990, I don't believe. Because I'm pretty sure it was when I was still, watching Saturday Night Live, and that's been a long time ago. But yeah, I've been those people in the basement. I've been the basement dwellers. I haven't been in the Shatner position. But what I'm saying is, if I ever did gain fans, I would be grateful for them, and I would love to have a discourse with them. And I'd be dearly grateful for their financial support and their moral support. But like I said, if some fan bros come at me, I'm gonna go back at them. And I feel like what I did in the incidents with the virtual convention is I let it drop because there was this tone, there were voices talking behind our heated exchange, more heated from his end than mine, I might say, for sure. And if you don't believe me, I don't care. But there were voices coming in like, ooh, this needs to be censored, this needs to be stopped, we got to keep it light. And that is the decision of the people who put this event together, and I wholly respect it, and I did follow it. I hardly said anything. I've hardly ever said anything at these events, the two I've attended, the virtual ones. I've hardly said anything at the live events. Because again, you have guys like the guy who shooted me out over Ms. Marvel who take up all the oxygen, and attention. Look at me, I'm funny, I'm intelligent, It's like, prove it. Do something, be something. And I'm not saying he doesn't in his personal life, but in his engagement with fellow fans in this very tiny niche, he wants to be a spectacle. He wants to be the one who snipes and breaks the peace with a cynical comment. And then people laugh and go, oh, that guy, there he is. Whereas if I do it, everything it's like that. It gets cold, it dies, it dries up, it fades, withers away. It's like, oh, Henry killed the mood. And that's what happened. Not this guy yelled at Henry over a fucking Disney show, which really had nothing to do with this convention, really. I had mentioned very, very casually, not intending to begin a conversation, much less, an argument or some heated defense or offense. The whole thing just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And like I said, if you're one of the people who subscribe to me then, or if you're one of those people who were there and you subscribe to me normally, and I know at least one or two of you watch this, I have no animus toward you. I bear you no harm or no ill will. But I'm done with that guy. I've said it now in 2 videos, one of which I decided not to post, and one of which I pulled. So this is it. I'm going for it. To you guy, if you see my video, you know who you are. You know who I'm talking about. As far as I'm concerned, you are gone. You are dead to me. I'm done with you. You don't exist anymore. I've wiped you off the motherfucking map. So I hope that will, when I describe it next, I will give more detail. Or I may not. It depends. It depends on if I lose subscribers or, people come at me. Then I'll make the decision whether I follow this up with, a calm recitation of what happened, like I started earlier, partially, or if I just don't address it ever again anymore. And some wisdom tells me the latter is better. But then I also think I deserve my day in court on my own channel. And who am I harming? So anyway, if he wants to make his own channel or talk shit about me on the podcast he's on, go for it, man. I'm not listening. I'm not tuning in, and you don't have to tune in to me. It's all good. But as far as engaging with that milieu, because that person and a few other people, because that person is a big part of it, and a few other people strongly support him. Maybe not like they're not like him exactly. I will not engage with that milieu ever again. I mean, I will talk to people one on one who belong to it, but in a group kind of setting, I might quit the online groups I'm part of. One of them I'm a moderator in, even though I never really utilized that ability. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to quit the whole thing virtually, but I'm not going to engage either. I'll be a lurker. So this is my statement going forward. I have a close friend who's very deeply invested in this stuff, and I hope he will not take offense or be hurt by my disengagement, but I'm sure he saw this coming. And for the rest of you, I'll do a new video as soon as I get my stuff together and have the energy and can sit down like this for this period of time and speak about something relevant to you guys, hopefully, but something more constructive. But this is where I've been at. I wish a lot of it wasn't a negative space. I've been in much more negative spaces and been on camera. One video I did during the crash site when I had a breakdown at the end of 2020, I'd hardly been doing these videos for several weeks, and I started doing those videos. And I kept most of them up, but I went back and watched pieces. One of them, though, I have deleted permanently. I look back and I'm like, why did I go on camera looking like that and coming off like that? And what the fuck was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was just being raw and bare, and I don't regret that. I think it kind of hopefully breaks the ice on this channel. So I'm going to keep it real and authentic. No matter which way the wind blows, however it goes. The people I respect most in my life are truth tellers, and I aspire to be one. I'm probably guilty of deception and disinformation myself at times, unwittingly, but I don't intend that. I intend the opposite. So when I tell you the truth, whether it's how I feel about the Crying Game or Ms. Marvel, or whether it's my life, my inner being, it's going to be my truth. And I already had one person that I was closer to than almost my own soul gaslight me for 2 years into thinking that, it wasn't my truth, that I didn't have a right to that truth. It was her truth, and she wrote her own, she overwrote her own who Henry is over who Henry actually is, and disseminated that to the world, and then retconned me out of existence in her world. More power to her. That's fine. And it did hurt. And to be honest, it still hurts a little bit when I think about it. I mean, it's still a hurtful thing. It's not like, oh, she hurt me, I gotta react. I don't react anymore to it. I just remember that pain, that, wow, why would someone do that to someone who occupied, I thought, a certain space in someone's life? Humans are capable of great good, but humans are capable of incalculable cruelty to each other, even on a very micro scale like this. Alas. So, take care. I'll see you soon.